Did you know that Afghanistan is home to some of the friendliest people on the planet? I lived there for a few years, and I can tell you that the hospitality is second to none. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows in this war-torn country. Let's take a trip back in time and find out why. Way back when, Afghanistan was part of a larger kingdom called Bactria, which stretched from what is now Uzbekistan to the Iranian border. The Greeks came through and conquered most of the area in the 6th century BC, but they couldn't get past the Hindu Kush Mountains, which are like the Himalayas, but way less impressive. They did, however, leave behind a lasting legacy in the form of Alexander the Great's forgotten tomb somewhere in the mountains. No, seriously, nobody knows where his tomb is. Historians believe it's somewhere in Afghanistan, but it has never been found. After the Greeks left, the Kushan Empire took over and introduced Buddhism to the region. But then, Genghis Khan and his buddies rolled through and destroyed everything. After that, it was ruled by various Persian and Mongol warlords, until the British came along and decided to have a grand old time. They made Afghanistan a protectorate of sorts, but it was really just an excuse to meddle in the country's affairs. Meanwhile, the Russians were eyeing the warm waters of the Indian Ocean, and they needed a warm water port. So they made a deal with the British to carve up the region. The Russians got the northern part of the country, and the British got the southern part. This lasted until 1919, when the Afghan army, led by the legendary Aminullah Khan, kicked both the British and Russians out of the country. This victory led to Afghanistan becoming a republic in 1926. But then World War II happened, and Afghanistan got caught in the middle. They didn't want to side with either the British or the Germans, so they just stayed neutral and hoped for the best. After the war, things started to go downhill. There was a communist coup in 1978, followed by the Soviet invasion in 1979. And if you've ever played the game Call of Duty, Black Ops, then you know that things got pretty intense. The Soviets were eventually kicked out in 1989, but not before leaving behind a power vacuum that could only be filled by one man, the infamous Osama bin Laden. In 2001, the US and their allies invaded Afghanistan to take out bin Laden and his gang. This led to the establishment of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan in 2004. But the war continued for another 10 years until the US finally pulled out in 2021, and we all know how that one ended. So yeah, that's the history of Afghanistan in a nutshell. A country with a strategic location, abundant natural resources, and a long history of being invaded by outside powers. But despite all the turmoil and tragedy, the people of Afghanistan remain some of the kindest and most welcoming people on the planet. That's all for today. See you next time.